We worked with the same people in the same place, doing the same thing day after day, until either we got lucky enough to be able to retire or we died. It was this way for too long, but we could hide it until COVID came, and then we couldn't hide anymore. And then what happened? People started leaving their jobs in droves. We started looking for work that fulfilled us and allowed us to be better parents and partners. Those who did stay at their jobs started working more from home on their own schedule. Instead of battling traffic every morning and afternoon, we spent more time doing the things we love in the places where we love to do them. And people are moving and taking their jobs with them. Work is changing, but not always in the right direction or fast enough. So rather than being a victim of change, we're driving change in the workplace. This is the moment.
Welcome, everybody. This is week 9 of the HR Disruptor Summit virtual experience. And my name is Jan Barlow. And my special guest today is Sarah Pfeiffer.
Yes, Sarah Pfeiffer.
Oh, yay. I love it because Sarah, she has a beautiful last name, how it's spelled. And, she used to have in her LinkedIn the little voice to be able to, describe how to say your last name. What happened to that girl? Because I love that. That was when LinkedIn did that little spoof or had that feature, I was like, that is great. That would have been wonderful for my maiden name, which was Harif. That would have been priceless for me. Oh, my friend, thank you so much for being our special guest today. I am so excited because the summit is all about different, right? And it's all about the reimagined work. But what I love about you, and we always feature every year about solopreneurs, entrepreneurs, and also for job seekers. So today we have resources for the solopreneur and job seeker. And you are the virtual event queen of yourself, right? Of you have your own academy. And if you could just share a little bit how you transferred or transitioned from corporate America to just having your own spectacular business.
Oh, thanks, Jan. Yeah, so I spent about 16 years in corporate America, like big corporate. And so about 4 years ago, made the transition to running my own business and I haven't looked back. And it's been a thrill ride of an adventure. I think, the short version of my transition was I started drinking the personal development Kool-Aid. I went to a few personal development events. I started watching personal development videos and courses and reading more books in that space. And it just taught me that I was meant for more and that running my own business was one avenue that would help me feel more fulfillment in what I do and perhaps even make a bigger impact in the world. And so I took the leap and it's been exciting. I started my own, as you mentioned, academy, live event academy, where I help small business owners leverage events to reach more dream clients and make easier high ticket sales and build more loyalty. And so that's been fun. And run a podcast too, all about events to help the small and solopreneur. It's called Green Room Central. And yeah, that's me. I'm in Portland, Oregon, where the sun is shining today, which is a rarity.
Right? Let's just snatch that up and put it in a little jar, okay?
Yes.
I love it. Well, Sarah, what I really admire is both of us have something in common to where we took, we had a great career and then all of a sudden something expands and, leads us to doing more, wanting more and to be more. Right. Yeah. And what I love about your academy, because me as an entrepreneur, just the experience working with small businesses, I love the fact that you took that in-person event planning experience and were able to just nice and slide it in there with virtual and adapt and really support all of us when we had to move to virtual. It's like, okay, what do we do now? Well, I
Mhm.
know our event planner professionals just were on top of it. Like, okay, how do we serve others? How do we make this help people transition to this? And what you and I were just speaking before we went on air, I love how virtual fits into the traditional sales funnel, right?
Mm.
And that's getting into, to me, we're so used to virtual everything. We're FaceTiming friends and family,
Yeah.
uh, work every day now. We got to be on Zoom. Doesn't matter what it is. Um, can you share a little bit? We were talking about in that sales funnel, especially for small businesses, where you might have the owner, the CEO of the small business is also the salesperson, right?
Yes.
So if we could talk and you could share a little bit more about how you really are excited how virtual experiences and events can play a big role in that funnel, but also the steps, if you could share that.
Sure. So I think it's such a gift, the what the pandemic gave
It
us
is.
in virtual events, because it really leveled the playing field and made virtual an option for everybody on the table to use in their business. And I really want to encourage everyone today to take advantage of that, because everyone, like you said, is used to virtual now. It's commonplace. It doesn't feel weird to go join in an event with strangers and have your video on and just be in the mix, seeing other people and meeting other people in that way. That's just, it's completely normal. And the there's the platforms that we use are so easy to use and accessible to people, and it's easy. I just want to
Yeah.
underline
Yeah,
that
it's
the
easy.
the
Yeah.
tech part is so easy. And so that just the barrier to entry of before the pandemic, having to perhaps even like talk people into the idea of coming into a virtual event, of talking them into getting, turning on a camera or even like buying
Yeah,
one or
it was
knowing how to
so
log into
hard.
a Zoom,
Yeah.
like that's all gone
Yeah.
away. What a gift. And so we have this vehicle. It's pretty close to free in most respects. And so how can we use it? And you mentioned in the sales funnel, and I see virtual kind of leveling out as a couple good places to put it in the sales funnel. First, I love to see it at the very beginning of the funnel, as if you've ever done a lunch and learn, if you've
Mhm.
ever hosted a happy hour or a free conference. This is where virtual plays really well, because you can make it low ticket or no dollar to
Yep.
attend. So again, removing a barrier to entry to hearing and building a relationship with your brand. And so I love that the virtual going in at the front end to build that know, like, trust with prospects. And so it fits really nicely there, that it could be a multi-day conference that's free or low dollar to attend. It could be, just like I said, a lunch and learn. Any number of things that you would have done in person, you can do in the virtual space in a short amount of time. I also love to put it in perhaps more of the middle of the funnel, you could call it, where you've got established customers, established community
Mhm.
that already know, like, and trust your brand, and you use events in the virtual event as an enrollment event to enroll them into your next level offers, higher ticket priced products and services. And it virtual fits really, really well there, because you can use that time and probably spend a little bit more time with them. I would probably go at least a day to multi-day in that sense, and really be able to use that time to build more community and um, deepen that know, like, or love and
Mhm.
trust that they have with you, and then invite them into your next level product, service, offer, whatever it may be. It's a great enrollment tool for existing, and then also low barrier of entry place to bring more people into your world. So those are my two favorites.
I love that. And what's interesting, my background is medical device, right? And we were always having, like any trade show, we always did demos of the device, right? We always do wet labs. And so virtual is kind of normal for me. My mind automatically says, oh my gosh, you're right. This is a fabulous opportunity it's unlimited to pull people, to expose, to really to get to know people, what their needs are. I know, advertising and marketing companies, and they spend millions of dollars for focus groups. What's interesting, virtual allows you an objective. It's a focus group, but it's not really, because focus groups they're not really as objective as you need, right? If you have a product or service or want to throw out a new idea, I mean, you can just as well create a virtual event saying, hey, we're gonna, we want to hear what you think about, let's just say we're going to create a new skateboard, right? And you start pulling people from all over to give you the feedback, right? It's giving you more information than the traditional focus group, because people that get invited to a focus group, they already know what the company is and the whole 9 yards. But it's almost like getting I call it connectional intelligence. I mean, you're getting feedback and bringing people from all parts of the world and being able, from positions and experiences to give you to give you feedback. It's almost a co-creative process.
Exactly. It does make co-creation so much easier and more accessible to people. I mean, you get access to more people at more times than you would have if the event was in person. Now, caveat, you do have to work harder to get them to show up, right? That is not off the table.
Right. Yeah. Thank you for bringing that up, my friend, because is it not true? And thank you. No, I just want to genuflect, because that really, a lot of people are thinking, I know my expectation has been, but luckily when you got 100 people that sign up, but only 10 people show up. Right. But when you really see reality, that people's attention span is only 3 seconds, and we book our calendar like, oh yeah, this is great, I want to sign up for this sounds like a really great event, but when it comes to the day or the time,
right.
So if you could share a little bit more about, how we should be looking or judge, is there even any type of calibration or assessment of success now?
Gosh, it really is on. I would.
You know what I mean? Because this linear thinking, it used to be around numbers, and I got to be honest, it's not about numbers, and it hasn't been about numbers for a while. Like, I did an in-person event back in 2015. Supposed to be a client of mine, right? I got the parties together. Client said, okay, we're going to we have a list of 1,200 financial planners.
Mm-hmm.
So they said, okay, they invited 1,200. I show up to bring my other client, right, to show up. And I'm looking around, and Sarah, there were 10 people that showed up. And I was like, okay, before I freak out, I'm going to stand in the back of the room and I'm going to observe. Okay, we got 10 people. Let me observe. Out of those 10 people, 10 people were taking notes. After that event, 5 people stayed to talk. So the goal was to attract people of wealth that had money to invest, so we could promote the nonprofit that we had. They were Center for Brain Health. So they were looking for, of course, more donations, right? So they were
Yeah.
giving a presentation about their product or service. I mean, about their studies, right? The science. The other client was a wills, trust, and estate law firm. So they wanted to be able to do wills,
Yep.
trusts, and estates, right? So it's a great marriage. Out of those 5 people that stayed afterwards, 5, each of those people had at least 1 to 2 clients that were looking for a good charity to donate to
Sure.
lead, right? So that number, that showed me right there, it's not about how many people show up.
But
So,
Jan,
right?
I guess I would jump in and say, okay, so it is about the numbers. And I would say that when you know the numbers, you can figure out how to be even more successful, because like it is so. Okay, 2 things. First, every moment of the event cycle, you're in sales. So you're
Right.
selling people to sign up. You're selling people to show up. You're selling people to pay attention once they're there. You're selling people to take action on the information that you provided. You're selling people on whatever the thing is that you're
Right.
selling at the event. Uh, you're selling people after the event to take the whatever action on the sales thing the offer that you made. There's sales at every step, and I
Right.
do encourage that people track those numbers, because when you're building an event, you're building a machine, and I'd like it to be a repeatable and scalable machine. Like, we're not going to do the event thing over and over again if it's
Right.
too stressful and burns us out. So let's build a virtual event or an in-person event that doesn't do those things for us, that allows us to feel like a sense of like peace and joy
Right.
while doing it. And so let's build something that's repeatable, and then let's build something that's scalable. Let's track those numbers so that we can go, wow, gosh, so what we did got 10 people into the room and it made like 5 sales. Well, okay, well, then what would we need to tweak or change in order to get 20 people into the
To
room?
make it
Because now
bigger.
we know that the machine works. We've just proved it out with the 10 people, right? So I guess that's my position
No,
on numbers and success.
yeah, and but to start, like what you're saying is track. First of all, track,
Mhm.
and then build on what you got to, because you got to start somewhere. If you've never done it before, you
Right?
got to start somewhere.
Exactly.
So I love, that's the piece that I think as entrepreneurs and as salespeople or whatever, we're comparing apples to oranges when we shouldn't, right? So
Yeah.
virtual, to the point about virtual events, you have situations where like people sign up but they're not showing up the day of. So that's different than somebody paying for an event and not showing up. I mean,
Mhm.
in person is different than virtual. So how are you advising, or what's showing when you're dealing with a virtual event and the same issue or challenge that you got a lot of people that sign up and only 10% of the people that signed up show up?
Right.
So how should we start to look at that?
Well, I would say that you can get upwards of like 85% to show up, but it perhaps push 90%. Like, it's possible. There are plenty of virtual events have proved that model out. And so if we can all agree that it's possible, then there must be some things that we can do to move the needle from 10% of our
Right.
registrants showing up to 85 or 90% showing up. And a lot of that is something you already mentioned, Jan, is co-creation. Like, how can we communicate with them in advance and have them help us like co-create the experience that they're joining, so they feel like they have a little skin in the game and they want to show up and see how it plays out. It's turning up the communications everywhere, like more than we think that we should communicate. In fact, like I even think within an hour and even like 15 minutes before doors open, that you're putting the link like back up at the top of their
Yep.
email inbox. Maybe you also are collecting their cell phone numbers and you're texting them. Perhaps you sent something like tangible, physical to their home in advance of the event. And so they've got this thing, and it drove up some excitement. It drove up their fear of missing out. They feel some sort of like reciprocity, that you sent them something, so they need to do something in return, and that thing is
Love it.
showing up. There's a lot of levers that we can
Nice.
pull.
Yeah.
And so that's just a few. But I think the message that I'd want you to take away is it's possible, and to not feel helpless, that there aren't things that we can do that are within our control to get that number, the show up number, higher.
That's nice. I like what I really was so valuable, what you just shared, Sarah, is that that action, extra action, prompted people to feel that they needed to do something for you.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That, to me, for that extra human behavior knowledge, right? To understand that that's really key. I got to tell you, that's valuable. That's precious right there. That's an aha moment that I really, really appreciate you sharing, because that goes beyond step 1, 2, and 3. And here's the actions that we can do. That's the why that action works, right? That's the big piece of the aha moment, is understanding, going beyond, okay, you can do these extra steps to increase engagement or attendance, but it's understanding the why. Why do those things work? Do those activities work? That really resonates with me, because we get caught up in I have to do extra work, when really understanding why it works from a human behavior standpoint, for me, is priceless. So thank you so much for really sharing that pearl. When it comes to this, again, elaborating a little bit more on human behavior and experiences that are affecting business, what have you seen in especially the last probably 6 months to 9 months? Have you seen a shift at all, comparing 2020 to 2021, and then going into this next cycle of time from December to now? What have you seen? Any shifts?
Well, obviously, in person, we're all seeing that is coming back with a full force, and that's exciting. But I'm not seeing virtual go away. And so that's really interesting and exciting all at the same time, that we all got this new tool in our toolbox in 2020, and it's not getting taken away. And it's kind of like a this and we're finding out where in person feels like it's almost like a shakeout of where in person feels like it's a right fit and where virtual feels like it's a right fit. I'm seeing a lot of people testing the waters with the hybrid, where they're bringing back the in-person and then simultaneously doing a virtual. And that's like my soapbox right now. Like, I'm passionate about, like, if you're going to do it, you have to do it well. And
so what does that mean? I mean, I know we have only a few minutes, but when it means by doing it well, because, we did spent some money on a professional virtual last year. We chose for the summit in person. We have a virtual experience segment, and then we have an in-person only segment, because that was a little bit, having anything more would be too much on Jan. But when you say do it right, what does that mean when you're doing a hybrid like that? Tell me what your definition of doing it right is.
I picture going to like the Academy Awards ceremony, and you there's like people who get to sit there in the audience, right? And be a live participant in that show.
Mhm.
And then there's all of us who are sitting at home watching on TV, right? And there are aspects of the in-person that the people who are on TV don't get to see, and vice versa. There's stuff that's going
Right.
just to TV that the people in person, it's not on their radar that that's happening. And so I want you to kind of have that view that you're serving two masters.
Yes. Yes.
And unless you have decided that they are both equally,
Yes.
they're equals, then
Mhm.
do not do it. Because if you decide that one is more important than the other, then that's going to shift your why, and it's going to shift where you spend money, and you're not going to be able to fund both
Right.
at the level from a time, money, attention, energy standpoint. They both need to be funded equally. And that's my personal opinion.
No,
And that's
I
what I
agree.
consider doing
Yeah.
it right. And so you would be having like a ballroom filled with people on one
Yes.
side, and then you'd have like a ballroom section sitting next to it where you'd have another set,
Yep.
another host, another tech team running
Yep.
just the virtual stream. That's just like the taste that I would give you of what
Yeah.
that might look like. But I need you to go into it thinking these are equals. And so I'm going to treat them like that. And I'm going to invest in both.
I got to tell you, when again, just reliving last year, I'm like thinking, okay, I could start to hyperventilate right now, because that you're absolutely correct. That is two different events
Mhm. Yeah.
going on at the same
Yeah.
time. That's
So
really
much more
what you're
work.
buying into. And why wouldn't you do that? Because if you don't, you're really making your virtual people
Mhm.
feel less. I mean,
Yeah.
that's just you just really get the feeling, if you're charging for that event,
Yeah.
you need to serve. You're exactly right.
And I
You
do
need to
think you
serve
can
both.
charge the same for both.
Yep.
Because people who come in person get more out of it, and they have to spend more to get there. And
Right.
so I think you can charge the same. And then I do think that you need to invest in both. Otherwise, you're treating somebody like a second-class citizen. And that's not ever the experience that you'd want to give a brand, or want your brand to give to a prospect or client. And also, we've all come to expect, and we've all participated in amazing virtual experiences. And so the bar has been raised when it comes to virtual. And so we no longer want to feel like we're just watching TV. We want to be able to participate. And so in order to give them that experience, it just takes more out of you. It's just so much more work and money and time and attention and energy, and just be prepared for that.
Yeah, and I think people think that virtual is easier than in person. I raise my hand. No, it's
So
not.
good.
It's not.
Yeah.
It was just as stressful as an in-person experience.
Agreed.
Same amount of work. I mean, preparation beforehand. It's not
Mhm.
like you just turn it on and it's there. So I think there's a misconception about how we do Zoom. You just go in and click
Mhm.
and think that that's it. But it's not. When you're doing a true virtual event, there is a lot more experience that you have to provide to your guests. Would you not agree?
I think people get a little bit hung up that they have to put on a dog and pony show, and I don't think they do necessarily. And I think that does hold people back from thinking that they could get started with virtual events. But I think it's all about engagement, really. And I don't think I don't want people to think that they have to have like fancy tools or skills in order to get into virtual. But I do think that they need to be aware that they need to focus on, I put the focus on their facilitation skills, their techniques, and not necessarily tech in the beginning.
Well, and even understanding what those parameters are for you as an individual, because you got to understand it's more than just pressing a button. and getting on a Zoom call. And that's what my point is. It's more than just clicking a link and doing that. There's a lot more, even as you know, with your podcast, or, you know, with basic elements to host, whether it be, you know, a broadcast or a podcast. So just making sure that everybody knows, check that information out, right? Kind of before you jump in, because there is more than just press a button. Oh my
Agreed.
gosh, my friend Sarah, thank you so much. And what we're
Yes.
going to post, we're going to, if you would, go on the LinkedIn event and be able to put your information in there about your academy and everything. So we want to make sure that that's on the replay, that everybody has that information and they can sign up. And also for the summit, you shared with us some goodies, a download that we will be providing in
Yes.
our after event package. So Sarah, thank you so much for your time today and sharing your just years of experience and getting us re-excited to know that virtual event is not going away.
Yes, you're right. Thanks for having me, Jan. It's been an honor.
My pleasure, my friend. All right, everybody, we'll see you here shortly and going into our next guest. Thank you so much.